Welcome to Created This Planet, presented by Free Speech Geek. This is essentially Edited Truth, the podcast. Quick snippets of what we did over the week. If you want to see more, please go check out the podcast Edited Truth, and be sure to check out freespeechgeek.com. We're here to talk about when we're talking about 90s anime, we're specifically talking about pre-digital animation, before the computer has made a big prevalent appearance.
Even though
a mainstay,
it still kind of impacts it in a minimal sense. There's still a lot of these things still were touched by computers, but there was so much hand done prior to that and outlining it that's lost now.
Cell painting, gone. You're not getting that.
I'll start with my least impactful one, but one I like the most. My number 5 would be the Ninja Scrolls movie.
Ninja Scrolls
movie, the 1993
yes.
Animated Ninja Scrolls Japanese movie.
Okay.
It was specifically the Ninja Scrolls movie and not the TV show, because I didn't enjoy the TV show and the animation in it as much. I did like Basilisk, which is the same kind of thing, and that was done better. But the Ninja Scrolls movie, the way they did martial arts, and I saw this in probably 1996 or something, really young. Like, the way they did martial arts in that in an animated sense was like, I'd never seen it flow like that. I'd never seen weapons flow like that. I'd never seen like blood and bodies explode like that. Like, the way they used the hand-drawn art to illustrate the speed and the violence and all that at once, just like breaking down at like breakneck speeds, was really impressive. It was captivating. I had seen like fight movies, like some of the Dragon Ball Z movies that had fighting that was fast and captivating, but none of them were animated as fluid as that. Like, just remember the opening fight. No, not the opening fight between the main character, Jubei, when he's fighting that guy with the double-bladed sword who's made out of stone. The way the sword flies around and cuts through things, like, that was... I had not seen that before. The way he fought the blind samurai and the way the petals float around him from the cherry blossoms. That was a watershed moment for me. So, like, that was the first time I'd watched an anime movie and been completely enthralled, like with just the art style. Because normally they're kind of cardboardy, like Speed Racer. You go back, and
right?
Even my mom would be like, when I was watching Dragon Ball, she's like, "Was this from the 70s?" She's like, "You watch Gotcha Man again?" And I'm like, "Actually, Mom."
You will actually, your mom?
Yeah, I was like, this ain't fucking Gotcha Man, all right? Hold on, Mom. Post this on a forum so I can get mad. But that's Ninja Scrolls 1993. Mine is X the movie.
X, yeah.
Or X99.
Yeah.
Or just X. They call it X99, it came out in 96. So it's already kind of funny if you look at the different titles for it. But the way they animated it was cool because it looked like a comic book. It looked like a comic book come to life. They had much harder edges that I was not used to seeing in some anime movies, and the way they used them and like how the characters felt tall and lengthy, and like when they extended swords, it felt like it had real depth to it. I liked the art style in that. That was one of those ones I randomly caught on I think our illegal cable pirate box. We had I think Showtime or something. They had an anime stream that was going on the weekend, and I just put it on and I was like, "What's this?" And I watched it. It was way crazy violent, but it was also super over the top, superhero fighting. So they were leaping from buildings. So it was a fun fantasy kind of movie, but I had no idea what the story was saying. I couldn't follow it, but the artwork kept me going. The art style, it was just flipping through a comic book you pick up at a newsstand, and you're like, "Oh, this is weird." I don't know the story, but these pictures are cool, and so this got me into the series just from how well it was drawn and how unique their style was compared to a lot of other animes I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
Now, when I go back and look at it, it's reminiscent of the evolution of what the Apex was from the 80s anime style. So the art style that they perfected 10 years prior to that, essentially, was still living on in this kind of, you could say, time capsule of a TV of a movie, of a series. Because the TV show itself, or any of the mangas, they're okay, but the movie, I felt the production quality was a little bit higher, notably, in the budget they had.
Yeah.
And it's much more encapsulated in one thing. The series kind of drags on. It's very droney. It's like a Boogie Pop Phantom. It's more of a noir style kind of anime. But no, X the Eliminated.
X gonna give it to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
1996 is 1999's X the movie.
X gonna give it to you. Let's do this.
Okay, so my number 2 is an anthology movie called Memories. Are you familiar with this? It's a 3-part anthology. It's 3 different separate stories. Came out in 1995. They're all kind of sci-fi, fantasy, on the heavy fictional end, and they're very stylized. Each of the 3 has their own art style, narrative, writing feel, all of it. So they're very unique, but they're all one movie. And even though they're separate, it's still, you can still watch them back to back, and they all fit. Each story individually is very unique. One is like more in space. One is more of like a post-apocalyptic kind of end of the world situation that springs up in like everyday life, and then one's more about like a dark abysmal kind of future that's more Orwellian. So I would say if anyone has never come across Memories, the animated movie, came out in 1995, sit down and watch that. I watched that much later in my life. It's more recent that I've actually watched that, but in 1995 when it came out, this thing was a powerhouse amongst the anime movie just genre in general. Yeah, I feel like to this day a lot of people look at it and go like, whoa, how did people overlook this? Because we remember a lot of those like movies vividly growing up when we came across them, but like this was one you had to kind of dig for, and like got kind of lost in time, and it was unfortunate because it was really good quality. Like, do you remember one from the 80s called Neo Tokyo?
Yes.
That
one I remember.
Boom! This is the 90s Neo Tokyo.
Okay.
It's 100% the 90s Neo Tokyo. One fucking, so much to the point that I thought that they were like around each other's time. I kept getting them confused. I thought Neo Tokyo came out in the 90s, but that's like 89.
Oh.
Yeah, Neo Tokyo is older, and it's definitely the better of the 2, but still, this one's good. This one's really, really good. You would love the second story called Stink Bomb. Okay. And it's about like this like just really generic Japanese businessman that works at like a Japanese pharmaceutical company, and he gets exposed to this unique virus that anyone around him, when they smell him, he stinks really bad. Yes. And after they smell him, they die. Okay. But first they're like, what is that smell? And then like a few minutes later, and he's like walking around and he doesn't understand. He's just like, what are people talking about? And it's just the agnosium and monotony of him. That's the one you'll probably like the most of the 3. But check out Memories. Okay. Please check it out. I'm so sad that it's so hidden. Okay. It's a gem.
I will check it out.
To end out the 90s, I'm gonna give you Princess Mononoke as my number 1.
You going? Okay.
Princess Mononoke. That's my favorite Miyazaki. That's my favorite animated movie from the 90s. That's anime specific. I like the way that they draw. I know Miyazaki's aggressive in how he does his art, and how he puts time into every drawing, every piece of it. Everything gets drawn by him, and then renders in. Like he says, this is what I need the scene to look like. And he draws it all out, and then they go and then they do what they can with it, and sometimes he directly has his hand in it, but everything is getting like visually represented in Miyazaki's visions, or in real time, in physical time, by him in some way, and that leads into everything in fucking Princess Mononoke. Has detail, every character, every little background, like little leaf and just arbitrary branch, and forest spirit jumping around, and bird just fluttering by. The weird thing is that because they're all a lot of them are animals, so the random animal cleaning and things they do on themselves in the background movie, but it's like all of that attention to detail is visually represented in what is usually an overwhelming task for an animated movie. That's a lot of budget, that's a lot of time. I mean, sure, Ghibli can do it because they're a powerhouse, and Miyazaki's got that fervor, but still, like, he could have been lazy. It could have been very blocky and very plain and flat. None of it ever felt that way. It always felt very fluid. It flowed very well. It almost, in many ways, I could say it's the opposite of what I got from X, because X was a very stoic kind of art style, and it did not. Yeah, I get that. It did not lead as well with like the scenes and like when people were moving around to like shot to shot. This, it's just like everything floats so smooth, just so smooth. Super smooth. Yeah. The fighting always felt so like nothing, even though like destruction, it never felt like the characters were like weighed down by gravity. Especially remember when his arm is like flexing with that weird demon infection, he's pushing the door open, like just the weight on his hair like starting to rise, and his clothes and everything like fluttering up a little bit. It like when you do it in Dragon Ball Z, it always felt flat. It was cool to look at, but it's like, you know, the repeated little like dust and lightning scenes playing in loop real quick. It's like, that's so flat. No, Miyazaki eats lightning and dust, like reactions different. Water, food, like textures. He does really good 2D animated textures so well. Yeah, every character feels unique. when he had all those ladies that were standing on the other side of the furnace that they were working on together, and he was working opposite of them, and each one of them was like moving and fidgeting and reacting in their own unique way, and had their own unique character design that stood out. Everything feels special, and nothing ever feels like repetitive in a Miyazaki flick.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's what made it stand out to me overall. Is
Beautiful
that
film.
it is 100% like a snowflake of the decade. The main character has the most forgettable voice, but he fit.
Yeah, Billy Crudup. Poor Billy Crudup.
Oh, that's who it was?
Yeah, it's Billy Crudup.
Oh.
What has she been up to besides not being in
anything?
I mean, he was Dr. Manhattan. He was the Flash's dad.
In the movie that just happened?
Not the new one. He didn't do that one. He was in the last
no
one.
Fucking way.
The Snyder verse one.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's not canon, so who cares, Kyle?
But it kind of is because no one has...
Oh, you're going against the narrative.
Sorry. All right, we'll move on.
You're worse than Hitler.
All right.